The boy in room 309. William had imagined university life would be exciting. New friends, new experiences, and the freedom to finally live on his own. That was what he expected when he moved into the old student dormitory near campus. Instead, his first month was filled with endless assignments, noisy hallways, and sleepless nights. The building itself was old enough to have dozens of stories attached to it. Students often exchanged rumors about strange sounds, hidden rooms, and mysterious residents. William never believed any of them. At least, not until he moved into room 307. Every night, at exactly 11 o'clock, he would hear music coming from somewhere down the hallway. It was always a guitar. The melody was soft and beautiful, carrying a sadness that seemed impossible to describe. The first time William heard it, he assumed someone was simply practicing. The second time, he became curious. By the third week, he found himself waiting for it every night. The music became part of his routine. No matter how stressful his day had been, the sound always calmed him. One evening, unable to resist his curiosity any longer, William followed the melody through the hallway. The dormitory was unusually quiet. Most students were either asleep or studying. The music led him to room 309. The door was closed, and a small brass number hung slightly crooked above it. William stood there listening for several minutes. The guitarist played beautifully, with a level of skill that seemed far beyond that of an ordinary student. Every note carried emotion. It felt less like a performance and more like a conversation. Just as William gathered enough courage to knock, the music suddenly stopped. The silence that followed felt strangely disappointing. He waited another minute before finally returning to his room. The next day, he asked several students about room 309. To his surprise, nobody seemed to know much. Some claimed a senior student lived there. Others insisted the room was almost always empty. One person even joked that it might be haunted. William laughed at the idea, but his curiosity only grew stronger. Over the next few weeks, he continued listening to the nightly music. Sometimes the melodies sounded peaceful. Other times they carried a loneliness that made his chest ache. Without realizing it, William began looking forward to 11 o'clock more than any other part of his day. Then one rainy evening, everything changed. William returned to the dormitory soaked after getting caught in a storm. As he climbed the stairs, he noticed someone sitting alone near the end of the hallway. The young man wore a black hoodie and held a guitar case beside him. His dark hair partially covered his eyes as he stared out the window at the rain. Even from a distance, there was something undeniably attractive about him. William immediately recognized the guitar. His heart skipped a beat. Before he could stop himself, he walked closer. "Excuse me," he said nervously. The stranger looked up. For a moment, neither of them spoke. William suddenly forgot everything he planned to say. The boy's eyes were calm but distant, carrying a sadness that seemed impossible to hide. "You're from room 309, aren't you?" William finally asked. The stranger studied him for a few seconds before nodding. "Yes." His voice was deep and surprisingly gentle. William smiled despite his nervousness. "I knew it." A small frown appeared on the stranger's face. "Knew what?" "The music." William laughed softly. "I've been listening to your guitar every night." The stranger seemed caught off guard. For the first time, emotion appeared in his eyes. "You listen?" "Every night." A brief silence followed. Then, to William's surprise, the corner of the stranger's mouth lifted slightly. It wasn't quite a smile, but it was close. "I'm Est," he said. William felt an unexpected sense of victory. After weeks of mystery, he finally had a name. "I'm William." Neither of them realized it yet, but that simple conversation in a quiet hallway would become the beginning of something neither of them had been searching for, yet both desperately needed. After meeting Est, William expected things to become less mysterious. Instead, they only became more confusing. The senior from room 309 remained just as difficult to understand as before. Some days, Est would sit beside him in the dormitory cafeteria and quietly listen to his endless stories about classes, professors, and embarrassing freshman mistakes. Other days, he would disappear completely, as if he had never existed. William quickly learned that Est was not unfriendly, he was simply distant. It felt as though he had built invisible walls around himself long ago and had no intention of letting anyone inside. Yet despite that distance, William found himself wanting to know more. Every evening, the music from room 309 continued. Now, however, it felt different. Knowing the person behind the guitar somehow made every melody more personal. Sometimes William sat against the wall separating their rooms and listened until he fell asleep. The music carried emotions Est never expressed out loud. There was loneliness in those notes, but also longing, a quiet hope hidden beneath years of sadness. One Saturday afternoon, William returned to the dormitory carrying several bags of groceries. As he struggled to unlock the building's entrance, one of the bags suddenly tore apart. Apples rolled across the floor in every direction. "Perfect," William groaned. Before he could start collecting them, another pair of hands appeared. Est crouched beside him and silently picked up the scattered fruit. Within minutes everything was gathered again. "Thanks," William said with a sheepish smile. Est handed him an apple. "You should buy stronger bags." William laughed. "I'll remember that." For a brief moment, Est almost smiled. It was a small expression, barely noticeable, but William felt strangely proud for causing it. They walked back upstairs together. Near room 309, William hesitated before speaking. "Do you want to come in?" Est looked surprised. "Why?" "Because I bought too much food." William held up one of the bags. "And because eating alone is boring." To William's shock, Est actually agreed. An hour later, they sat together in William's small room eating instant noodles and watching a random movie neither of them was paying attention to. Most of the conversation came from William, but Est occasionally responded with short comments. Slowly, the atmosphere became comfortable. It was the most relaxed William had ever seen him. Then, halfway through the movie, Est's phone rang. The change was immediate. The warmth disappeared from his expression. His shoulders tensed. Without saying a word, he stood up and stepped outside to answer the call. Through the thin walls, William could hear fragments of the conversation. Est sounded frustrated. Angry, even. When he finally returned, the calm atmosphere was gone. "I should leave," he said quietly. William frowned. "Everything okay?" Est avoided eye contact. "Just family problems." William wanted to ask more questions, but something told him not to push. Before leaving, Est paused near the door. "Thanks for dinner." Then he disappeared into room 309. That night, William waited for the familiar guitar music. 11 o'clock came and went. Midnight arrived. The hallway remained silent. For the first time since moving into the dormitory, no music played. The absence felt strangely unsettling. Unable to sleep, William stepped outside around 1 in the morning. As he passed room 309, he noticed the door was slightly open. Concern replaced curiosity. Before he could stop himself, he knocked softly. There was no answer. He pushed the door open a little further and froze. Est sat on the floor beside his bed, his guitar resting against the wall. His face was buried in his hands. For a moment, he looked completely broken. William had never seen anyone look so lost. The confident, mysterious senior was gone. In his place was someone carrying a weight far too heavy to bear alone. Hearing the door move, Est looked up quickly. Their eyes met. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then William quietly entered the room and sat beside him. "You don't have to tell me what's wrong," he said softly. "But you don't have to be alone either." Something flickered across Est's face. Surprise. relief, maybe even gratitude. No one had ever said those words to him before. For the first time in years, the walls around his heart cracked ever so slightly. And although neither of them realized it yet, that night would become the moment everything between them truly began. After that night in room 309, something changed between them. Neither William nor Est mentioned what had happened, but the distance that once existed slowly began to disappear. Est no longer vanished for days without explanation. He started waiting for William after classes, sometimes walking him back to the dormitory, sometimes sitting beside him in the library while pretending to read. Their conversations grew longer. William learned that Est was a final-year student majoring in music production and that he had once dreamed of becoming a professional composer. However, whenever William asked why he never shared his music publicly, Est would simply change the subject. It became one of the few mysteries that remained unsolved. As autumn arrived, the campus transformed. Golden leaves covered the pathways, and the air grew colder each day. One afternoon, William convinced Est to attend a university festival with him. At first, Est refused. Crowds made him uncomfortable, and social events were never his favorite thing. But William was persistent. Eventually, Est surrendered, mostly because he found it impossible to say no whenever William looked at him with those hopeful eyes. The festival was filled with music, food stalls, and students laughing beneath strings of colorful lights. William seemed to know everyone. Every few minutes someone would stop to greet him, forcing Est to stand quietly nearby while pretending not to feel annoyed. "You're pouting," William teased after noticing his expression. "I'm not." "You are." William laughed. "You look like someone stole your favorite guitar." Est rolled his eyes. "You're imagining things." The truth was far more embarrassing. Every time another student approached William, especially when they flirted with him, an uncomfortable feeling settled inside Est's chest. He hated it. He hated how much attention William received. He hated how easily William smiled at other people. Most of all, he hated the realization that he cared. Later that evening, a live music performance was held in the center of campus. A local band unexpectedly canceled, leaving the organizers desperate for a replacement. Before William could react, one of his friends volunteered him. "William sings," his friend shouted excitedly. "He's amazing." William's eyes widened in panic. "What?" "No." Unfortunately, the crowd had already heard. Within minutes, students began chanting his name. William looked horrified. Then his gaze landed on Est. "Help me." Est crossed his arms. "You're on your own. Traitor." Despite his complaints, William eventually stepped onto the stage. Under the bright lights, he looked nervous for exactly 10 seconds. Then the music started. The transformation was immediate. His voice filled the night air, rich with emotion and warmth. Conversations stopped. Even people passing by paused to listen. Standing among the crowd, Est felt his chest tighten. He had heard William sing before, but something about this moment felt different. Perhaps it was the way the lights illuminated his smile. Perhaps it was the way his eyes sparkled when he performed. Or perhaps it was because Est had already fallen in love and simply hadn't admitted it yet. The realization struck him so suddenly that it almost stole his breath. He loved William. Not as a friend. Not as a roommate down the hall. Not as someone he enjoyed spending time with. He loved him completely. The thought should have terrified him. Instead, it felt strangely peaceful. For the first time in years, his heart knew exactly what it wanted. When the performance ended, the crowd erupted into applause. William laughed happily and bowed before jumping off the stage. He immediately searched the audience until he found Est. "Well?" he asked breathlessly. "How was it?" For a moment, Est simply stared at him. The lights, the music, the laughter around them all faded into the background. There was only William. Only the person who had somehow become the most important part of his life. "You were incredible," Est said quietly. The sincerity in his voice made William's smile falter for a second. Their eyes locked. Something unspoken passed between them. Neither of them looked away. Then, before either could say anything more, William's phone rang. The moment was broken. William sighed dramatically and answered the call. Meanwhile, S turned away, trying to hide the emotions threatening to show on his face. Later that night, back at the dormitory, William sat by his window replaying the evening in his mind. There had been something different about the way S looked at him after the performance. Something warmer. Softer. The thought made his heart race. Across the hallway, inside room 309, S picked up his guitar and began playing. For the first time in months, the melody sounded hopeful. And as William listened from the other side of the wall, a small smile appeared on his face, completely unaware that both of their hearts were moving toward the same destination. The days following the festival felt different. Neither William nor S spoke about the moment they had shared after the performance, yet both of them carried it everywhere they went. Sometimes William would catch S looking at him during class breaks, only for the older boy to immediately look away. Other times, S would find himself smiling at something William said and then wonder when exactly he had become so attached. The answer was simple. It had happened little by little, through late-night conversations, shared meals, and the sound of William's laughter echoing through the old dormitory hallways. Yet despite growing closer than ever, there was still one thing William did not understand. Est's sadness never truly disappeared. It hid beneath his smiles and quiet moments, waiting to return whenever he thought nobody was watching. One evening, William finally decided he had seen enough. Around midnight, the familiar guitar music stopped abruptly. Concerned, William walked across the hallway and knocked on room 309. There was no answer. After waiting a few seconds, he carefully pushed the door open. Est was sitting beside the window, staring into the darkness outside. His guitar rested untouched nearby. The room felt unusually heavy. Est? William asked softly. The older boy looked up. For once, he didn't pretend everything was fine. Can't sleep? William sat down beside him. Est gave a small shrug. Something like that. Silence filled the room. Normally William would have tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but tonight felt different. He could sense that Est was carrying something important. Something painful. After several minutes, Est finally spoke. My younger brother used to play guitar. William remained quiet, sensing there was more. Est's eyes stayed fixed on the city lights beyond the window. He loved music more than anything. We used to play together every night. His voice softened. He was better than me. William's chest tightened. It was the first time Est had ever spoken about his family. What happened? The question lingered in the air. For a moment, William thought Est might not answer. Then the older boy closed his eyes. He died 3 years ago. The words hit William harder than expected. Suddenly, everything made sense. The sadness. The loneliness. The music that sounded like memories wrapped in melodies. Est continued speaking, his voice barely above a whisper. After he was gone, I stopped playing for a long time. Every song reminded me of him. Every guitar felt wrong. He laughed bitterly. Eventually I started playing again, but it was never the same. William felt his heart ache. He could not imagine carrying that kind of pain for years. Without thinking, he reached for Est's hand. You don't have to carry it alone anymore. Est looked down at their joined hands. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he squeezed William's hand gently. It was such a small gesture, yet it felt more intimate than anything they had ever shared before. Their eyes met. The air suddenly felt warmer. Neither of them looked away. William's heart pounded so loudly he was certain Est could hear it. Slowly, almost unconsciously, they moved closer. The distance between them disappeared inch by inch. Then Est's phone rang. The sound shattered the moment instantly. Both of them pulled back as though waking from a dream. Est glanced at the screen and frowned. It was a call from his family. He answered reluctantly, his expression growing darker with every passing second. When the conversation ended, he looked exhausted. "I have to leave tomorrow," he said quietly. William blinked. "Leave?" Est nodded. "Family matters. I'll be gone for a while." The word struck William harder than he expected. "How long?" "I don't know." For the first time since meeting Est, fear settled deep inside William's chest. Not fear of danger. Not fear of being alone. Fear of losing someone who had become incredibly important to him. The next morning arrived far too quickly. William stood outside the dormitory as Est loaded a bag into a waiting car. Neither of them seemed to know what to say. So many feelings remained trapped behind unspoken words. Finally, Est stepped closer. "Take care of yourself." William forced a smile. "You too." Another silence followed. Then Estate surprised himself. Before he could overthink it, he reached out and gently brushed a strand of hair away from William's face. The gesture was simple, but it made William's breath catch. "I'll come back," Est said softly. William nodded, unable to trust his voice. Moments later, the car disappeared down the road. William remained standing there long after it was gone. That night, for the first time since moving into the dormitory, no guitar music came from room 309. The hallway felt emptier than ever. Sitting alone in his room, William stared at the walls separating them and finally admitted the truth he had been avoiding for weeks. He was in love with Est completely, hopelessly, and undeniably in love. The only problem was that Est was now gone. And William had no idea whether he would return feeling the same way. The first week without Est felt unbearable. William never realized how much space one person could occupy in his life until that person was gone. Every morning, he found himself glancing toward room 309 before remembering it was empty. Every evening, he caught himself waiting for the familiar sound of guitar music that never came. The old dormitory felt quieter than ever. Even his friends noticed the change. William smiled when they spoke to him and laughed when necessary, but his heart was somewhere else entirely. He checked his phone more often than he wanted to admit. Est sent messages whenever he could, but they were brief. Family obligations kept him busy. Some days, William only received a simple, "Good morning," or "Have you eaten?" Yet somehow those small messages became the highlight of his day. One rainy evening, nearly 3 weeks after Est had left, William returned to his room feeling exhausted. Midterm exams were approaching, assignments were piling up, and the absence of the person he loved seemed to make everything more difficult. As he unlocked his door, he noticed something unusual. A small package rested on the floor outside room 307. Confused, he picked it up and immediately recognized Est's handwriting. His heart began racing. He hurried inside and carefully opened it. Inside was a notebook and a handwritten letter. William sat down on his bed and unfolded the paper with trembling hands. The moment he started reading, his chest tightened. Est's words were simple but sincere. He wrote about the first time he had noticed William moving into the dormitory. He wrote about hearing him sing while walking through the hallway late at night. He confessed that William's voice had become one of the few things capable of making difficult days feel lighter. Most importantly, he admitted something he had never managed to say out loud. He was in love with him. William read the letter 3 times before tears blurred his vision. Months of uncertainty disappeared in an instant. The feelings he had been carrying were returned. Every smile, every moment, every silent glance had meant something. Before he could fully process the letter, his phone suddenly rang. The screen displayed a familiar name. Est. William answered immediately. "Hello?" His voice cracked slightly. On the other end of the line, Est was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. "Did you read it?" William laughed through his tears. You could have just told me. I know. Est sounded almost embarrassed. But every time I tried, I got nervous. William smiled. The thought of calm, composed Est being nervous because of him was strangely adorable. So what happens now? He asked softly. Another pause followed. Then Estate replied, look outside your window. Confused, William stood up and walked toward the glass. The moment he looked down, his breath caught. Est was standing in front of the dormitory building. Rain fell around him, soaking his dark coat, but he didn't seem to care. For a second, William simply stared. Then he ran. He barely remembered leaving his room. He flew down the stairs 2 at a time, ignoring the surprised looks from other students. When he finally reached the entrance, Est was still standing there waiting. Neither of them spoke at first. Months of emotions filled the silence between them. Then William marched forward and hit Est lightly on the shoulder. You're an idiot. Est laughed softly. I've been told that before. William looked at him, trying unsuccessfully to hide his smile. You made me cry. Sorry. No, you're not. No, I'm not. They both laughed. The tension that had haunted them for weeks finally disappeared. For a moment, they simply stood there beneath the rain, looking at each other as if afraid the other might disappear. Then Estate took a deep breath. William. The younger boy immediately knew this was important. Yeah? Est stepped closer. I love you. The words were quiet but certain. No hesitation. No fear. Just honesty. William felt his heart swell. For so long, he had dreamed of hearing those words. Now they sounded even more beautiful than he imagined. I love you too, he replied. The smile that appeared on Est's face was unlike anything William had ever seen. It was genuine, warm, and completely unguarded. Before either of them could overthink the moment, William closed the remaining distance and kissed him. It was soft and brief, but it felt like coming home. Around them, the rain continued falling, the dormitory lights glowed warmly in the darkness, and somewhere above them the windows of room 307 and room 309 remained illuminated. Later that night, they sat together in room 309. Est picked up his guitar for the first time since returning. Any requests? He asked. William smiled and leaned against his shoulder. Play whatever you want. Est nodded and began strumming a familiar melody. The music filled the room once again, but this time it no longer sounded lonely. The sadness that had once hidden inside every note had finally been replaced by something brighter. Something hopeful. As William listened, he realized that the mysterious boy in room 309 had never truly needed someone to save him. He had only needed someone willing to stay. And as Est played beneath the warm glow of the room's single lamp, William knew he would stay for a very long time. The music continued long into the night, drifting through the old dormitory hallways exactly as it always had. The only difference was that now, for the first time, neither of them was alone. The end. Thank you for listening to the entire story. Before you go, please answer the small question below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to support the channel and motivate me to create more stories for you. Your support truly means a lot. See you in the next story.